What's up, Kansas City? I'm your host, Glenn Brian Frizzell. Today we are filming in the historic 18th and Vine Jazz District at the Lincoln Building, home of Cascade Media Group. Today's special guest is on the November 4th ballot. He's seeking your vote for election to the U.S. House of Representatives for the 5th District of Missouri. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to have with us today candidate Jacob Turk.
Thanks, Glenn. Thanks for having me today. Appreciate it.
Mr. Turk, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us what area exactly does the 5th District of Missouri encompass?
Well, in the 2011 redistricting, they really increased the land area of it. They added Ray, Lafayette, and Saline counties to it. And that's, even though it looks really, really big, it's only 10% of the population. And then they added Southern Clay, which has Gladstone, Claycomo, Avondale, and North Kansas City in it. And then all of Kansas City south of the river, and then a good part of the southeast corner of Jackson County below I-70, with the exception of a peninsula that goes through the middle of Lee Summit.
So the constituent base is in the millions?
It's actually about 748,000.
740,000. Mr. Turk, you beat three other candidates, and you will face Manuel Cleaver, the second, who's the incumbent, plus a Libertarian candidate. Can you tell me a little bit about your opponents? Maybe some strengths, traits?
Starting with the Libertarian candidate, I really don't know him. I saw him at one candidate forum, and I know that he's trying for the first time, so don't know much about him. Know much more about Congressman Cleaver. From what I can figure out, that he started out with very good intentions over 30 years ago in politics. And just from what I gather from campaigning, a lot of people feel like he has lost touch since he went to Kansas City. Even those who thought he did a good job as mayor, they just feel like he no longer listens to them.
Well, Mr. Turk, you certainly are keeping up with issues here. You have a number of platforms on your particular website. I would like to give you a chance to talk to our viewers about these issues. Let's start with economic policy. How are you more in touch with the economic policy of the 5th District of Missouri, and what will you do to viewers who want you to represent them?
Well, I'm a small business owner, and I've actually had a couple of small businesses, and I realize that that is the engine that creates the jobs. And so I don't have a problem with large corporations, but I feel large corporations have enough resources. They don't need extra resources in Congress. That if we're going to look at helping businesses, we should be looking at the smaller businesses, the ones that actually create about 75% of the jobs. I would particularly like to see some of the more economically depressed areas, the parts of urban core Kansas City. There are parts out actually in Saline County and some other areas that we want to address with some programs, some different type of microloan programs, and the ability for businesses to get help, whether it's through entrepreneur training, like we have the Kauffman Foundation here. Would like to see more of that, particularly in the minority communities. I've always felt that why should somebody have to take 3 different buses to get to a job? We should be creating jobs everywhere in the district, and particularly in those areas that are underserved by employers now.
You mentioned transportation. In terms of businesses, what is your 9 to 5? Are you connected on a day-to-day basis with the corporations, the contacts and networks that will make this happen currently?
Well, by going around and campaigning in all parts of the district, there are many business people that do want to help the economic depressed areas. They're just not sure about how to go about it. And they want somebody who can act as a liaison for them, who can make connections for them with people in the different communities, so that they can help them in terms of both financing, and also help them in terms of training for job creation. So there's a lot of people with a heart to help the areas that need the most help, and I think that's where we should be concentrating our efforts. Like I said, those who are doing well don't need that type of help. They're doing well. Those that are not doing as well, we need to pay special attention to. And one of the things that I've done in my campaign is I don't take any special interest PACs. I don't take any money from them. And there's a reason for that, because once you start doing that, you start drowning out the voice of regular people. And I just know so many folks are just tired of what's happening economically in their community, and they want to see a change for the better. And I want to serve them. So I don't want their voice to be drowned out by large donors, the corporate PACs, the Wall Street PACs, the banks, those type of PACs. I get my money from individuals, from thousands of people who give $10, $20. And I've talked to tens of thousands of people. And I want to be able to serve. That's what I want to do. And I want to be able to serve those who need the help the most. And so I think that's a difference between Congressman Cleaver and I. I think he really started out that way. Like I said, you go to Washington, D.C. and eventually just lose touch. So I want to be a resource for the community, and I want to improve things in the community.
And how will you stay in touch with the community, more particularly with taxes and allocation, making sure that our tax dollars are earmarked and going to the proper channels where it's directed and promised to go? Do you have any special philosophy when it comes to taxes, Mr. Turk?
Well, Glenn, you asked a great question. One of the things that I realized as a freshman congressman, and actually congressmen in general, they don't pass many laws. I think Congressman Cleaver has passed one amendment and one law since he's been in Congress. It's just hard to do. That's not really a criticism of him. That's just the way the system works. But what I realized I could do is we have these different government programs, grant programs, loan programs, and basically hundreds of billions of dollars have flowed through the streets of Kansas City over the last 50 or 60 years in federal government money. And where has it gone? And a lot of people have that question. One thing I can do as the congressman, not only can I fight for people in the community on the floor of Congress, I can do that right here. I can watch and see where the money goes. And whatever the program is, I can make sure that it gets to the recipients rather than it just seems to disappear in air right now. Well, it should go to where it's intended to go. And that's one thing that I can do, is make sure that the federal dollars go to the people it's intended to.
Fair enough. And how will you work with the governor to pass or not pass? Where do you stand on health care?
Well,
Medicaid, more particularly, Medicaid.
Well, Medicaid is a state program, and so I'm running for federal office. The money comes from the federal government, and that's in the budget, and that's usually years ahead. So the reality of that situation is we'll see if there's even a vote that I get to take on that type of funding. So that's the government, that's the program that's administered by the state. So that's what they'll fight about in Jefferson City. In Washington, D.C., what we'll be discussing is the Affordable Care Act. Some people know it better as Obamacare. And what we need to do with that program is change it to what the American people wanted. What the American people wanted were two things. They wanted,
Please tell us.
Sure. They wanted there not to be any turndowns because of pre-existing conditions. And they didn't want there to be any rate up of premiums for health care insurance for pre-existing conditions. And what we got instead was just this massive government program that has its fingers everywhere. And we're just now seeing how that's stopping job creation. Because so many small businesses are now just finding out that they have to be an agent of the federal government. Even if they don't have enough employees to be under the program, they still have to make sure that there's a compliance. And there's some very stiff fines. And in fact, they found out the other day, they hired, I think, 152 agents in the IRS specifically to make sure these micro businesses are helping people comply with this program. Well, if you're running a small business, mom and pop shop, you don't need more to do. You're working, 18 hours a day just trying to make ends meet and trying to provide money for your family and a job for those people that depend on you. So what I would like to see done with the Affordable Care Act is I would like to see it repealed and then replaced at the same time in the same bill, because that's the only way I'll pay for it, because the American people do want something done, and have one that you have a system where people who need help with their health care insurance premiums get that help on a sliding scale income, and so that they can go out into the marketplace like anybody else and pick the health insurer that they want to deal with. And that's just a simple solution. I used to work at the National Association of Insurance Commissioners, and they actually regulate the healthcare insurance industry. And so from a regulator standpoint, I got to see how the industry worked, and so saw how the rating pools worked. And one of my suggestions that I made back in 2006 when I first ran was to use geographic area. In fact, you could use a congressional district. And then you have a federal official who is responsible to, if things aren't going well with an insurance company, then you have a congressman that's responsible for that. That you can turn to and say, hey, Congressman, I'm having trouble with XYZ health insurance company. And so then you have somebody who's your advocate in Washington, D.C. that has a lot more pull than an individual person does.
Right. And
So,
your office will be open for that.
oh, absolutely. And it's the job of a congressman, and people hear me talk about Congressman Cleaver because that's who I'm running against.
Sure.
But I say this about all 535 representatives and senators. They have a job where they're off work, essentially, 6 months out of the year. They should be out advocating for their constituents. We had this whole VA scandal hit.
Advocation is important.
It is. And I'm a veteran, I'm a Marine veteran, and I was just appalled by what's been happening with the VA. But when politicians just grab the microphone and they run in front of the cameras and they talk about, well, let's not treat veterans this way, you know, they're thinking that I'm stupid. They're thinking all the constituents are stupid because they've been in D.C., whether it's been 10 years, 20 years, 30 years they've been in D.C., where have they been on this issue?
Long time.
So military and veteran needs to be taken care of, but they need to be taken care of on a daily basis. So they should be down there sitting in the waiting rooms at the VA.
Right.
Go ahead and talk to the staff. See if there's some issues. Talk to some of the patients. How's it going?
First-hand experience. And you are a Marine. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, Mr.
Sure.
Turk? Were you born and raised in Missouri here?
I was not. I'll give you the quick rundown. I was born in California, moved to Pullman, Washington.
What part in California?
Woodland Hills, which is near Davis.
Okay.
My dad was a Korean War combat veteran. In fact, he was on the first wave of the Incheon landing. Very proud of my dad. May he rest in peace. He passed away about 2.5 years ago. And he was just getting his college going when I was born. So he got his undergrad degree in Northern California, went on to Washington, Pullman, Washington, got his graduate degrees, then went to Ohio State, went down to Arlington, Texas, went up to Terre Haute, Indiana, and all those moves were before I was in 6th grade. And so from that time until I went into the Marine Corps, I was in Terre Haute, Indiana. And then when I was getting ready to get out, my parents actually moved, and they didn't tell me, and that's a true story.
While you were in the service?
While I was in the service.
Okay.
And I won't go into that because we don't have much time, but I did catch up with him, and his division
Hopefully.
had gotten sent over to Lee Summit, Missouri. So that's how I ended up in Lee Summit, Missouri. So I've been there since December of 1977. And so I served in the Marine Corps, then went to Longview, and then UMKC. I'm a fighting kangaroo. Before they just became the Roos, I was a fighting kangaroo.
Kangaroo. All right, UMKC. Mr. Turk, what do you want our viewers to know about you when they go into the election booth next Tuesday? What should they know? And why should they vote for you?
I'm a sincere man. The reason why we've done so well, you know, I'm a Republican, but first of all, I'm an independent-minded American who served this country in the Marine Corps, and I just want to serve the community. I want to make life better. I'm running for Congress because I want you and those you love to be safer, more prosperous, and freer than you are today. And one of the pledges I've made as a representative, people see me out and about at hundreds of events, and just talking to folks and hearing what the burden is on their heart and what they would like to see their government do and what solutions do they have. And I'm promised to keep that going, because when you cut yourself off from talking to people, you cut yourself off from some of the wisest solutions that you ever have, and not all solutions that I agree with. However, you know, we grew up in different households, went to different schools, different churches, maybe different religions, but you grew up in America, and you are an intelligent adult human being who's come to your ideas of the solutions to what vexes this country. And I need to hear those so that I can take your voice to the floor of Congress and fight for you. And I just ask your viewers, send this Marine to Washington, D.C. to fight for you, because that's just what we do.
And that is wonderful. You talk about having a two-way conversation. Can you tell us exactly what you would do different if you are elected into Congress? I want to make that point clear.
One of the biggest things, what I just was talking about, is I will stay in the community.
Sure.
All parts of the 5th District. I've been in all parts of the 5th District campaigning, and just talking to people and letting them know what their problems are, what's on their heart. If they need help with the bureaucracy, making sure that my staff is proactive in providing that help. Like I said, as a freshman congressman, it's not going to be about passing laws and writing legislation. It's going to be about making good decisions, but where you get that knowledge to make those good decisions is from talking to your constituents and what they'd like to see you do. And then I will take the independence that I have, that mindset, and do the best I can to represent the people. But the biggest thing is just to keep talking to people, keep showing up, and letting people ask you questions. People get upset with you, they get upset. But at least you're hearing why they're upset. Why are they frustrated? What do they want to see better in their community? What difference do they want to see you make to make the lives better for those that they love?
Mr. Turk, thank you for coming to visit with us today. Do you have any final words for our viewers?
Well, my name is Jacob Turk, and I just hope that you'll give me a chance. Try Turk. You just might like it. Give me a couple of years to make a positive impact in your community. It's time for a change. I think we all feel that as Americans, and I would be privileged and honored to receive your vote on November 4th.
Thank you for connecting with us today. Please remember to vote November 4th on Tuesday. It is important and imperative for you to express your political voice. My name is Glenn Bryan Frizzell. You can check out more video online at www.whatsupkansascity.net. And remember, the sky is the limit. Aim high. Shoot for the moon. If you miss, at the very least, you would have landed among the stars. Thank you. Take care. Until next time.
Go Royals!
CMG wants you to always remember, the victory we call success goes to the best prepared. When you invest in your community, you're really just investing in yourself. Thanks.